Well, hello everybody. This is Mac, and we are working on solving equations with fractions and decimals. As a reminder, if you just popped in and found this, you can find all these videos on maxtutorials.com. If anytime you like and subscribe a video, I love it. If you have any comments, if this helped you out, it really gives me encouragement to keep these going. If you have any constructive criticism, I always love to take it. I just want to do whatever I can to help you out with your math. As I mentioned in version A, I'll say a little bit less about it this time. Um, the reason why I did this section is because a lot of times you're learning all this great math and how to solve, and then they throw fractions and decimals, and it kind of puts your into a bit of a tailspin. So I'm going to give you some tricks to deal with that. Now, if you see a fraction and you see that that fraction has the same denominator, just multiply everybody by that. Remember, that's like a 4 over 1. These 4's would cancel out, and I'm left with x. And look, these 4's would cancel out, and I'm left with 11. I'm done. Okay, so it's really that simple. I'm going to go to number 2 now. If you see a decimal, you are allowed to move the decimal the same amount of places without changing the problem. What you actually did is you times each side by 10. Okay, if you move them 2 spots, you times them both by 100. If you move them 3 spots, 1,000, etc. What you can't do is move one spot and move another one 2 spots. And I'll show you when we get an example of that, what I mean. Okay, so now here we're just going to solve x equals 8, and we got rid of our decimal. Number 3, now here I see a 3 and a 2. We're going to look for what we call the least common multiple. Okay, I wish that number 3 wasn't there, but whatever. Okay, so now the first thing you do when you're looking for a least common multiple is you look at the biggest number of all the denominators, which is 3, and you ask yourself, will 2 go into 3? It won't. So now take the bigger number. Don't worry about the 2's anymore. Just worry about the 3. It's the bigger number. Go up a multiple. What's the next multiple of 3? 6. Will 2 go into 6? Sure will. So that's the number we're aiming for. Okay. So now we got to multiply this, remember, by all 3 of them. Every term has to be multiplied by it. So now when I do that, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to go 3 goes in the 3 once, 3 goes in the 6 twice. So I'm going to go 2 times x, and I'm going to get a 2x plus. Now I'm on the second fraction. So on this, what I'm going to do, 2 goes in the 2 once, 2 goes in the 6 3 times. Now I'm going to go 3 times 3, which is 9. Now I'm going to go to the third one. 2 goes in the 2 once, 2 goes in the 6 3 times. 3 times 11 is 33. Now that's a problem that usually people feel better about working with. So now I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. And when I do that, I get 2x equals 24. When I divide each side by 2, I get x equals 12. And you probably feel more comfortable working with this problem than with that problem. Okay? Number 14, I notice that everything is one decimal, one number past the decimal. So when I do that, I'm going to multiply by 10 or just move the decimal over the same number of spaces. Okay? And that becomes my problem. These are going to be the same thing. And then you don't have to worry about your decimals anymore. Okay? Obviously, if you're using a calculator, this whole section probably doesn't even matter to you. But any case, here we go. 80, boom. We're going to divide each side by 15. How many times will 15 go into 80? Well, I know that 4 times will make it go into 60. And so 5 times would make it go into 75. So I know it's not going to be an even number. I'm going to get a fraction answer. Let's divide them both by 5 and see what happens. Well, the bottom's easy. It's 3. What about the top? How many times will 5 go into 8? Once, with 3 left over. I'm going to write the 3 next to the 0. How many times will 5 go into 30? 6 times. Can I reduce that? I really can't. That's my answer. If your teacher wants to see 5 and a third and move the mixed fraction, that's fine. That's completely up to them. What if they want to see a decimal answer? Well, then I really didn't help you much. Okay, if they want to see that, then you're just going to have to suffer through it and go through that. You can always take your calculator and go 16 divided by 3. What is that? 5 and a third. That would be a 5.33, something like that. So that's another way you could do it. Number 5. Oh, we're going to solve an equation, but they're all one decimal past. So I'm just going to move this to 5x plus 32 equals, now, the 2. This is where I don't want you to get thrown. If you notice, everybody had to move a decimal to the right. Well, how do I move a decimal to the right on a 2x? I have to make them 20x plus 2. Because remember, what we're really doing when we move one decimal, we're timesing by 2. Now I have a variable on both sides problem. So to do that, I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. Boom, and I get 32 equals 15x plus 2. I want to get letters on one side, number on the other, so the plus 2 is the one that's in the way. And once I do that, oops, sorry, that dies. 32 minus 2 is 30 equals 15x. I'm starting to encroach on the other problems. X equals 2. Okay, sorry, that got a little crowded. Boy, these are all getting crowded. Let's see, zoom in and see if I can help out with that. Okay, so now fraction, I want to multiply everybody by the same number. So I'm going to go least common multiple, 2, 2, 4, 2. Well, they'll all go into a 4, or 4 over 1. First one, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. So I'm going to go, don't know why I put that dot there, 2 times x is 2x. Minus, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice, 2 times 3 is 6. Equals, 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 4 once, 1 times x is just x. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 times positive 5 is positive 10. I know it's a lot of writing and it's really busy, but hopefully you could follow what I just did there. Now I got terms on both sides, so I'm going to subtract x from both. They die, and I get x minus 6 equals 10. And when I finish solving, 6, sorry, a little ugly there, I'm going to get x equals 16. Okay? Let's keep going on this. Let's go to number 7. All right. So now, again, a bit of an ugly one right here. To be honest with you, what I would do on this one, and if you can go with me on this, this would be a little more helpful. Since I'm distributing and I see that these are pretty easy numbers to double, and I would just do this. Oop. Okay, 2 times x is 2x plus. You're going to buy something for $1.25. You're going to buy 2 of them. How much is it? It's $2.50. When they give you numbers like that, think money, think quarters. It usually helps. Equals, now that's just 8.5. Now that I have this and I've done my distributing, I could have changed 2 to 20. I could have changed 1x to 10x. I could have changed this to, well, this I would have had to make to 125. I would have done a lot of decimal changing, basically. I'm going to do the decimal changing now, though. I know that on this one, I want to move him twice, which means that I need to move this one twice. Okay, and if I move him twice, there's 1. I got to add a 0 and go 2. If I need to move 2 twice, this has to become now 200x. I'm multiplying by 100 plus 250 equals 850. Now, once I subtract 250 from both sides, I'm going to get 200x equals, and I believe that's going to be a 600. And when I divide each side by 200, hopefully you see that that's just going to be a 3. Okay? Let's go on to number 8. All right. Oh, nasty fractions. That is awful. Okay. That is no fun whatsoever. Now, do you know how to multiply with fractions? Multiplying with fractions really isn't that hard. You just multiply the top by the top. You don't have to worry about common denominators. So I want to do my distributive property first. And right here, I'm going to get 3x. Now, what is 3? That's a minus sign. What is 3 times 3? Just 9 over 2. That's all you do. So multiplying isn't so weird. You don't have to worry about common denominators. All right, now I'm going to write a 1 right there just to make it easy. So what's my least common multiple now? It's going to be 2. So now I'm going to multiply everything after I distribute by 2. Now, there's nothing to do here because it's a 1 on the bottom, so this should become 6x, right? But now, look at the second term right here. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once. 1 times 9 is just a 9. Equals 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once. 1 times 21 is 21. Now we just solved the problem. Add 9 to both sides. 6x equals 30. Divide each side by 6. X equals 5. Okay, let's keep going. Number 9, okay, I see that every single one can move over once and it would make me happy. So let's just do that. 6x plus 28 equals 12x minus 14. Cool. Now I have variables on both sides. And as we talked about earlier in different problems, I like to move the variable so that we can keep the variable positive. I'm going to get 28 equals 6x minus 14. Letters on one side, numbers on the other. So here the number has to move. And I'm going to get 32 equals 6x. So once I divide each side by 6, I'm going to get, I did something wrong? No, I didn't. So my x is going to equal 32 over 6, or 16 over 3. Okay? Let's go on to number 10. Oh boy, a 5, a 2, a 10, and a 2. Now remember, least common multiple, always start with the biggest number. So the biggest number is going to be a 10. Now, will 5s and 2s go into 10? And the answer is, yeah, they will. So guess what? I'm going to multiply all three of these by a 10 over 1. So now watch what happens. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 10 twice. 2x. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 10 5 times. So that's going to become a 25. 10 goes into 10 once, 10 goes into 10 once. 1 times x is x. And 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 9 is 45. Go back and do that a little slower, and I think you'll understand what that is. Variables on both sides, so I'm going to move my x over here. And that's going to give me an x plus 25 equals 45. I'm going to subtract my 25. Now, if you don't know how to solve these types of problems, I do have one that says solving problems with variables on both sides. And that's, again, on the maxtutorials.com. Okay, let's go on to number 11. I think I have 4 more in this section. All right, so now these are, these all have the 0.5, 0.25. We can usually do these okay. So these will go ahead and just multiply. What's 4 times 0.5? Well, 0.5 times 2 is 1. And we're just going to do that again. That's just going to become a 2x. Okay, minus a $1.25. I'm going to buy 4 things that are a $1.25. Well, $1.25, 250, double 250. That just becomes a 5 equals 7. So I didn't really do anything special and magic there. Now what you could have done, now this is going to get really nasty, you move him over twice, becomes 125. He becomes 700. He becomes 50. He becomes 400, and you can see how ugly that's going to get. So hopefully, just by using 0.5s and 0.25s, I know we're not in the days where we used to use quarters a lot. So you think a quarter, you think money was really easy. But I know with the world of debit cards and Apple Pays and all that stuff, it doesn't happen as much. But I think we could still get 25 cents and 50 cents. All right, this one. Now they already gave us a number to multiply by. So why don't we just start with that? I can tell you right now, it's not going to finish it, but it'll start it. Okay. So that's like a 2 over 1. Let's go ahead and do it. Well, actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. This might even be easier. Remember when I said you multiply, you just multiply the numerators. So 2 times x is 2x over 4 plus 2 times 5 is 10 over 2 equals 11. Now, I know you can probably see already that 10 over 2 is a 5 and 2x over 4 is 1/2 x. Well, that's great. Actually, you know what? That is probably the best way to solve it. Now, what I would do, though, is if I can multiply, I just want to show you the process. If I multiply everything by a 4, then I'm going to multiply all 3 of them, and we're going to, lose our denominator. But let me just show you this. Watch this. I'm just going to do it a little bit of a different way because this is what I see. That's going to be an x over 2, because remember, 2 goes into once, 2 goes in there twice, plus 5 equals 11. Subtract 5 from both sides. X over 2 equals 6. This is now just a one-step equation. X divided by 2, so I'm going to multiply side by 2, and now I get x equals 12, and that's probably the easiest way to go about this one. Let's go on to number 13. Okay, this one is nice because I just have to move everybody over once. Cool. 18x plus 27 equals 3x plus 63. Now I'm going to move my 3x over here because I like to keep my variables positive. They die. 15x plus 27 equals 63. Now I'm going to subtract 27. Now, if we didn't do that trick, you'd be subtracting 2.7. Again, not that big of a deal, but sometimes you might mess up, especially the division at the end where the decimal goes and all that. So if this works for you, use it. 13, that becomes a 5. This will become a 36. Divide each side by 15. My x equals 36 over 15. Well, I know 3 will go into both. 3 will go into 36 twice, 12 times. And it'll go into 15. How many times? 5 times. And so this would be my answer. Okay. If your teacher wants to see that as a decimal, obviously you're going to have to go 12 divided by 5 and get an answer. Well, why don't we just do that in case that's important? If it's multiple choice, they do that. 15 will go into 12 twice with how many left over? 2 left over. And that's how we write our remainders. Did you know what 2/5 is? That's 40%. Okay. So that's going to be a 0.4. Because remember, 2 over 5 would be the same as 4 over 10. So your answer would be a 2.4. Okay. Let's go to 14. All right. One where we could do some big multiplication. All right. Remember, least common multiple. Take the biggest number, which is 6. Will the other 3 go in? And in this case, the answer is yeah, it will. So we're going to multiply everybody by a 6 over 1. These cancel out. I'm left with an x. Plus, now I'm going to go this term. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 3 is a 9. Equals. 3 goes in there once. 3 goes into 6. How many times? Twice. Now I'm going to go 2 times x and get a 2x. How about the last one? 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 5 is going to be a 15. And that becomes a problem I'm going to solve. I'm going to move the x this way because I'm going to keep my variables positive. I'm going to get 9 equals, what is 2x minus 1x? Just x. Minus 15. Now I'm going to add 15 to both sides. Boom, die. And I'm going to get 20. Whoop, not 26. Hello. Erase. 24 equals x. And that is my final answer. All right. There you go. There's version B. I hope these little tricks and tips helped you when you get fractions and decimals. They don't freak you out and you have a little bit more comfort with them. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. If you want a little more practice, please go on to version C.